All right, so what I want to talk to you guys today is the importance of what I think is pretty important when it comes to training is training in the full range of motion. Now, I'm actually going to put a post up probably this afternoon, kind of talking about this topic, but I wanted to go in a little bit more detail here because, obviously I can talk for several minutes here on Instagram. I just got at the most 90 seconds, but the typical person's attention span is 5 to 10 seconds. So I have a little more time to talk and discuss here. So I always haven't been a fan of training in like the full range of motion just because of things that I've heard in the past. Like don't squat past 90 degrees. You're going to hurt your knees. Don't do a shoulder press. Below 90 degrees, you're going to hurt your shoulders. Just several different things over the years just coming up that I guess in my mind at the time kind of made sense, but now it's like uh, that doesn't really click too well with what I now know. So, and the more that I've looked into it, like reading, PubMed studies and things like that, there is actually some literature that supports training in the full range of motion. So, in my opinion, training in that full range of motion is going to be the best idea when it comes to number one, just reducing injuries, and number two, just developing more overall strength. So if you think about it, so we're talking about a full range of motion. Let's just say if we're talking about a lat pull down, right? At the top of that movement, this lat is fully lengthened, right? And then at the bottom of this movement, that lat is fully shortened. And your muscles are going to be typically the weakest at the lengthen and the shortened you know, positions, and they're going to be the strongest in the mid range. So anywhere in between here and here, that's where we are our strongest, and that's where a lot of people do partials. A lot of people don't stretch the lat out all the way, or they don't come down all the way and like really dig deep into that lat, and that's where a lot of people are just weak at, right? I mean, if if you're used to doing a partial range of motion, let's just say in like a lat pull down, and you can lat pull 200 pounds down, right? You can come down, but you're not able to get low and then hold it, right? Like if you get down to the bottom, you're like, oh God, it's got to come up, right? There is no control in the bottom. Then you probably have a little bit of a weakness in that shortened position of the lat to where, hey, it would probably be a better idea if I lighten this load. Sure, I'm a lot stronger in the mid range here, but I can pull down, and really strengthen that lower portion as well too. So that's just kind of that's kind of to put it in context, you know, of what that means. Let me text her back. Let's see. Yes. All right. All right. Sorry. Anyway. All right. So what we're wanting to do is we are wanting to be sure that you're in that full range of motion. And I say that when your mobility allows it is the main thing. And this is going to ensure that we're building strength and promoting stability across that entire range of motion, not just in partial ranges of motion, which can then lead to weaknesses and then cause injury. So when I say that when your mobility allows it, I mean, if you're not very flexible, if you haven't done any kind of flexibility training, anything like that, to the point to where you're just stiff, right? Like on a leg press. If you're doing a leg press and your feet are in the right position, everything is set up properly. But when you come down and your heels start to come up, that's probably a poor sign of ankle mobility, right? And it's something that you could work on. So that might correlate over to a squat to where you can't fully get into depth because your ankle mobility is not where it needs to be. Again, that all ties back to if your mobility just allows it, right? Now, again, I used to not be a huge fan of this just because I thought that there were going to be injuries associated with training in a full range of motion. But if you break it down in its simplest form and just think about what we're doing, so let's take for example a seated shoulder press. Let me actually share my screen, and I'll pull up a recording. Let's see if it'll pull up. Mm, kind of want to give you guys a little visual. All right. Let's see. Let me get back to Zoom. We should share my screen. All right. So, all right. If you watch here, normally you would stop, at that 90-degree mark. You see here, I'm going all the way down, pausing at the bottom. This shoulder joint is going through a full range of motion here. Instead, more people would stop here, and they're missing, that 4 to 5 inch mark of mobility to where that is creating a lot of instability in that shoulder joint, right? Um, now some people can't do this. Granted, I used to could not do this because my shoulder mobility was just not up to par, right? But the more that I've worked on it, and the more that I've trained in these full ranges of motion, it's a lot easier for me, and I can definitely tell that my shoulders are definitely a heck of a lot stronger. And when you think about it, what we're doing here is by going through this. Let's see. Let me get back. Going through that full range of motion. You're recruiting more muscle fibers, which is going to result in a more muscular, stable, shoulder joint, which is going to help, reduce shoulder injuries in that particular case, just throughout your career. Um, Again, I used to could not do dips because my shoulders were so shot, but now I could do them no problem because I've trained in that full range of motion. Now granted, there's probably some exercises that you shouldn't do a full range of motion, and again, that's going to depend on you and your mobility level, right? But if you're not used to training like this, I would highly suggest easing into it. Don't just load up a Smith machine and 135, 225, whatever, and just, all right, let's see how this goes, and just rack it and just let the weight push you down, right? Because you're probably going to tear something. Start out, very, very light, and just control the weight. Make sure that you get a good deep stretch in the bottom. Just make sure that there's no impingements going, if we're talking about, the shoulder press kind of thing, but really in anything, just make sure it's comfortable first and then build upon that. Um, and once you do that, and once you fully develop that full range of motion, you should see a heck of a lot of strength gains just across the board coming along. Because if you think about it, if you were to start, doing these, Smith machine presses with this full range of motion, that's going to correlate over into other things, such as, a bigger bench press. And then once you get over there into the bench press and you do more, full range of motion stuff with the stuff there, that's going to recruit, a little bit, of triceps, right? And you're able to go heavier on the bench press. So again, all that stuff, kind of correlates into one another. So, um, that's really what I got today, guys. Like I said, it wasn't going to be a long one, but that was going to be or that is going to be a post later today. But I kind of want to go into a little deeper detail about that. I guess my question to you two is: are you guys typically training in that full range of motion, or just kind of never really like thought about it? I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're highlighting like um the bottom of the movement because it's usually the full lockout that I have the most difficulty with,
Hmm.
especially on those press motions, just because like I usually try to like push through with a lot of power, like on the when I'm going through those presses. And sometimes like at the lockout, like I'll feel like I don't know what to call it, like not an impingement, but just like almost like just a little bit of extra stress on my like elbows specifically.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
but it's only on like the upper body stuff. Like the lower body, I don't have any issues. The lower body, it's actually I'm I don't know if you ever watched like I think it's like Eric Janicki. He does like a lot of that stuff where his videos are like he like on leg press, like he'll like almost look like a pretzel.
Yeah.
So like I've been trying to like get a lot more range of motion there, but the lockout has always been the tougher challenge for me.
And that would just from kind of what we're talking about, that would just be one of your weak points is you're just not fully strengthened in that lengthened range of motion is what it is. Now, for something like that specifically, if we're talking about like shoulder presses, you could do, I can't think of the name of them. I think maybe they're called jam presses or something. And as tall as you are, I don't know if you could even do them anyway. But if you get us out of the power rack, you can, set the racks like up to like, the safety racks up to, to like shoulder height, put the bar there. And then, so you're starting kind of like up here already. So you're only training through the last range of motion in that thing instead of having to go, so you're starting like here, right? And you're just, pushing up. Same thing with if you're doing, any kind of, bench press work. If you struggle with lockout, do floor presses, just because that's going to help that top end, lockout. And again, it's just weaknesses. That's what it is. So,
I've had to cut weight a lot lately just to try to get the full range of motion, just because I've been a little bit more deliberate about that. But yeah, it's been helping, I think.
and it's funny that you say that because I think when I was reading up on this the other day, one of the big key components is like there are definitely, I'm looking at a couple PubMed studies right now that like fully say that like training in the full like range of motion spectrum is better. If we're looking at things like maximizing muscle strength, lower limb hypertrophy, and looking at like functional performance. On the contrary, though, there is no difference between the full and the partial range of motion, according to this PubMed study specifically. Um, that show that it generates changes in muscle architecture. So that they're talking about like muscle thickness, the angle of the way that the muscle belly sits, and the fascicle length or something. But I think if you look at this from a 30,000 foot view perspective, is just like you said, it's forcing you to use lesser weight to correct your form. And once you correct your form and really, get that full range of motion form nailed down, you'll then be able to progressively work back up to that. But you're going to be a hell of a lot stronger in those lengthen and shorten positions because you've trained them now, whereas before you were not. So
I've had to like straight up switch machines even too. Like, so, I mean, I've been doing like the seated calf raises as an example for so long, and I just switched to like, it's not like a standing one, but it's one where like you're like bent over, right? And like you're like that they have at the gym, and that's been
oh
incredible.
the
Like,
oh the donkey calf
yeah,
raise. Yep, yep,
yeah. I mean, it's like the iCarrion machine that they have at
yep.
Carolina, and that's been crazy. I meant to tell you yesterday, like, because I did calves and like the range of motion, it's hard, but like I'm like walking out of there, like I'm like I'm on like spaghetti legs.
Yeah, it's funny. I had to find a video. I was using that exact same, or not the exact same, but the exact same model. I carry a donkey calf raise at Fitness Junkie in Panama City Beach, and I don't know what I did because I'm obviously not very tall, but I put the full stack because I could do the full stack. I put the full stack when I lifted my heels up off the platform, to lift my butt up, whatever. The two weight pegs or the two, the round stocks that hold the plates on there, they come out of the holes. They like slid forward and then hit the carpet. And I got it all on video. You can see me. I was like, shit. And Elise was like, what? I said, go get somebody from the front desk. And they had to like get like two people to like push it up. And I was trying to keep the weight from like, because they were all gonna fall. But yeah, I don't know if maybe they didn't have it secured on the bottom or something. But I mean, I picked it up and that whole thing come out.
That happened to me yesterday.
Really?
Like so it wasn't when I didn't have the weights up yet, but I was just trying to adjust like the height of the thing.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I like went, I guess, like as I was putting it up, like because there was no weight on the machine at the time because I was still just trying to get get started. And like the entire thing like just started lifting up. I'm like, what's happening? I had to keep an eye on that, but
It
yeah,
must be the model then, I guess. It's got to be.
yeah.
But I don't know, maybe about this was probably 3 years ago. I was like, damn, my calves are strong. But now it's like, maybe not. Maybe it's just a machine. Um,
That one's a good one, makes you feel good because I was doing the whole machine pretty easy too. So, but
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
telling you, Jim Pinn's gonna have to sponsor me here one of these days.
yeah. We'll put a plug in here. I'll try to tag them. Like, hey, look at this guy right here. Um, but yeah, I mean, outside of that, guys, I mean, that's really all I got. I was gonna do a thing about cholesterol. I mean, you were talking about that earlier, and I was like, I don't have enough time to dig all that stuff out. So like, this will be the easiest one to do. But yeah, outside of that,
I thought it was funny that you talked about this today because actually when I saw your reel on Instagram, I was like, I need to start training full range of motion on shoulder press because I normally stop around my mouth or chin. So I
yep,
got three I can definitely go down, but
yep.
comes back to one of those ego things that you got to cut out.
Oh, that's all it is. And that was the funny part was I hadn't done so that particular Cybex Smith machine is heavy as crap. And I've learned that from several people telling me that it's I don't know if it's heavy, but just the way like when you take that bar off, like on like the Nautilus Smith machine, like any other Smith machine that I've used, it's got like a lot of resistance to it. Like, you can just like, throw the bar up and it'll kind of like, glide up and then like come down. But this Cybex, as soon as you unrack it, it wants to come down like hard. Um, and so like yesterday, I put the 135 on there or the 135. I know it's not a true 135, but still, I mean, I unracked it, went down. I was like, okay, this is an easy 10. I was like, let me try, 185 kind of thing. And then I was like, okay, if I can get down this low, I should be able to, I should be good. But sure, if I wanted to have an ego trip, yeah, I could have put probably 225s on there, maybe a 10 or a 15 and started making some noises or something, so, where people would look around or something. But I don't know. I just keep to myself. Big
Yeah,
t-shirts, and joggers. So
definitely heavier than your normal Smith machine.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think y'all might have one at Carolina Iron Arena. I'm not sure what that white one is that y'all got against the wall. I think that's a Cybex, but I'm not totally sure. But it's heavy. I know that. So
The only one I've used is the one that's in like the main by like the dumbbells.
yep, yeah, that's it. Yep. And I think that's a Cybex, but maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? Um,
I want to say hammer strength, but I could be wrong. I have no idea.
and you could be right. I've only been up there like three times. So,
Yeah.
um, so
I'll take a picture next time. It feels heavy, but that's just because my upper body is weak.
yeah, okay. Whatever you say over here doing, God knows how much heavy weight. But anyway,
Hmm.
all right. Well, I'm gonna let you guys go. I appreciate you two tuning in. And yeah, we will go from there. Chandler, send me a check-in. I'm gonna call you out.
Will do.
All right. All right. Yep. Y'all guys be good. I'll talk to you guys later. See
Hey,
ya.
good luck, man. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.